I lost you. I'll get you later. Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. So Dick Pound of the International Olympic Committee announced today that the Olympic Games will not start on July 24th. That much I know. How is it possible that there was even a need for this announcement about the Games to be held in Tokyo? I thought the Olympic Committee that decided the CCCP beat the USA basketball team in 1972 had an easy decision to make, but they didn't do it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. At least this Olympic decision about postponement was even more obvious. We've got Bud Shaw here tonight. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 24th consecutive year, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Let's say hello to Bud Shaw from WKYC.com, down ending up his vacationing, and he'll be coming back north. Hello, Bud. How are you?
Hey, Les, how are you?
Well, you got to help me here. You started to help me. You didn't even know you did help me. I took a shot at the Olympic Committee, and you pointed out a couple of things that I didn't mention. It just looked to me like a simple decision, but there's more to it than that.
Well, I do think it was a simple decision in a way because the athletes in different sports and also in different countries, starting with Canada and Australia, were making it very clear that they couldn't see a way they'd be able to compete and perform in a July Olympics when their competition schedule leading up to the Olympics has been just thrown, into such turmoil.
And when you think
You know,
about Simone Biles and people like that, you just assume they can turn it on and turn it off, but that's not the case.
No, and the big question for some of these sports now is that some of them have held their Olympic trials, Les, and so you've had people qualify for the 2020 Olympics. Do you have to hold a new Olympic trials before 2021? Do you just grandfather the people in who made their Olympic teams? The other question is that somebody like Simone Biles was holding out to compete in this. Does she want to do it for another year? She's accomplished pretty much everything there is to accomplish in her sport. So she may not even be interested in staying competitive for another year. I've done 6 Olympic Games. I've been very lucky to do it. And each time the network that was airing the games would 6 months out would try to get U.S. media people who covered the Olympics to fly to that city where the games were going to be held, not only for a venue tour, but to also do interviews with some of the American and international athletes who are going to be competing. So we know that 6 months out, these guys have, they're in their the most strenuous part of their pre-Olympic training, and here we are 3 or 4 months out, and they haven't been able to get to gyms. They haven't been able to work out in groups as they might for team sports, and it became pretty aware that this was not going to work this summer. And I think the IOC was just waiting in deference for the Japanese Olympic Committee to come to the same conclusion. because they know how much money this has cost Tokyo to put these games on.
Yeah, I took the easy way out. It's pretty easy to take a shot when it's so obvious what the outcome is going to be. But you pointed out some things that I hadn't given consideration. I just assumed it would be taken care of. The statement on the 2020 Olympics from Dick Pound, the International Olympic Committee member, on the basis of the information the IOC has postponed. The postponement has been decided. The parameters going forward have not been determined, but the games are not going to start on July 24th. That much I know. So they have some choices. Start them, whenever. Hopefully this gets solved fairly soon, and you can name a date. And number two, you can name a date way out in the future and have it work toward that.
Yeah, I think what they were probably trying to decide between was whether it was feasible to do this later in the year. And temperature-wise, you could probably get away. I think the average temperature in Tokyo in, say, late October, November is still a high of 62, but it's a low of 48. And are you gonna hold Olympic-style spring events in that kind of weather? Now, the other thing is that nobody knows how long this is going to last. So to postpone it only 3 or 4 months, I think they were probably getting some input from the epidemiologists in the world, telling them that they couldn't guarantee that there was going to be a safe competition even at that point. So I suspect that what they're going to do is pick these dates similar next year. It was supposed to start in late July this year and run through the first 10 days or whatever of August. And I think that they'll probably end up delaying it by almost a full calendar year.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw is with us, wrapping up things in his southern estate where you've been holding out. Other than
I don't have a southern estate. They don't allow the likes of me to own anything down here. I have to rent. So
well, other than the obvious, the weather was great, right?
yeah, the weather was fantastic. You just kind of walked around in a daze, though, wondering where this thing was going and how far-reaching it was going to become. And here we are. We've been down here for 3 weeks, and it's I don't know that those answers are any clearer.
No.
I mean, you're closer to the Cleveland scene than I've been recently. Has there been any? I saw a Mark Shapiro story in which he thought it would take a full month from naming a date for these guys to get ready to perform again.
Right.
Has there been any talk at all about when the baseball season might start?
No, that we heard that, but they didn't really make a big deal about it, which is kind of surprising. And the opening day was supposed to come. Today's Tuesday. Opening day was going to be Thursday, and strangely enough, the temperature is supposed to be in the 60s on that day. I think everybody started scratching their heads when they originally saw opening day coming on March 26th, but as it turns out, that wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know there's talk these days coming out of Washington about getting America back to work and opening up America again by Easter. Well, Easter's April 12th. That is very likely not going to happen. And from a sports standpoint, I can't imagine that the heads of these sports are going to put players and fans at risk by rushing this thing. And they're going to listen to the doctors as we should.
Yeah, last week we had Doug Maurice on the show, and I don't know if I had mentioned this to you, if I talked to you before or since. And I asked him realistically what's the lowest amount of games you could have if you were going to start up a baseball season? And he said normally. Now, you remember in '85, they missed the first 18 games of the season, so 144 was that number. But most people that I talked to said, well, probably for competitive measures, maybe 100 games or 80 games is what you need to have. But Doug said, something that you throw everything out here because of the mood of the country, the pessimism and all that. Maybe watching some baseball games, even if it was only a 40-game schedule or 50-game schedule, just to have it out here, get some pride back, might be something they could consider.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are people out there, and I know you're probably one of them. You've loved baseball your whole life, and you look at those records in the history books or accomplishments that the greatest players have had, and you feel like they're worth something. I, you know, I don't know what this would. I don't know what effect this would have on people who are real purists of the game. Would they feel like 40 is certainly not enough to judge a season by? I'm sort of siding with Doug on this. I think that this is such an unusual set of circumstances that we would roll with anything that baseball would come up with.
Yeah.
And clearly, I don't mean, a 15-game season and let's declare a champion. I mean anything close to half of a season or even a little less.
Yeah, I think it's something that, what I hear a lot about is people at home saying, I didn't know there were other things to do besides watching sporting events at night. But apparently,
Yeah,
people are
it's
getting by.
certainly, yeah, it's certainly, I think a lot of people are binge watching Netflix stuff and, um, reading a good book. How about that?
That's okay. 216-575-0403. But I made an impassioned plea last night because this is the new reinvention of More Sports and Less Levine with Skype and any other method that we can have. And I've asked for more audience participation. If they like the show and want to keep it going, join in. There's, we don't know where this thing's going. We're trying to provide some entertainment for everybody. All of the audience members have been a big part of this show for all the 24 years we've been doing it, and we need some help. Help us be part of the show, and we'll see where it goes. 216-575-0403. You can also email us during the show, and that would be at reallesslevine@gmail.com. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in the last 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state of Ohio. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. More Sports and Less Levine continues. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-less-levine with new content posted each and every day. We've got a good question today, and I was surprised by the amount of responses that we had and which way they were going on it. We'll check that a little bit later. More Sports and Less Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
This portion of More Sports and Less Levine brought to you by Northeast Factory Direct. Birthdays for today, the 24th of March. Larry Wilson played with the St. Louis Cardinals, a tiny guy, but one of the meanest, toughest guys ever. He's a Hall of Famer. 1947 is Stand Out. Peyton Manning, born on this date. Chris Botch, John Greco, and Starlin Castro, all born on the 24th of March. 216-575, and Peyton Manning, 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us via Skype, and that's the way we're going to be doing it for a while. Hope you bear with us, but so far it looks pretty good. Even Bud looks pretty good.
Yeah, and that's saying something, Les.
That what, for technology?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Brian Walsh, of course, our producer in the back.
He's
he
the
claims,
glue. He's the straw that stirs the drink.
there's
That's
no
what I call
question
it.
about it. He says that the Browns are doing things all right in this offseason, and Bleacher Report agrees, or maybe they agree with Bleacher Report. I don't know. But a lot of good things have been happening, so let's take a look for the Browns, at least until they play some games. We're going to assume that they're doing things right. First thing they did, Bud, you can see that, they fired Freddie Kitchens after the 2019 season. Any problem with that?
No, I thought it was pretty clear last year that that was a change that had to be made.
All right, they covered it by hiring Kevin-Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Bleacher Report says that was the right thing to do. What say you?
Well, I don't know much about Stefanski. I still think that John Dorsey could have remained here and had made some good moves, had made some mistakes too, as most guys do, including Sashi Brown and Andrew Berry the last time they were here. So, but I understand that once they took the power away from Dorsey as far as the next coaching hire, I'm sure he felt like he couldn't stay under those circumstances. So here we are.
All right, so they hired Kevin-Stefanski and Andrew Berry, and they also had obvious needs, defensive line, or offensive line rather, and defensive linebackers. They signed Jack-Conklin to upgrade the offensive line. Seems to be unanimous that that was a pretty good decision to make.
Yeah, and I'd be lying if I said I followed it so closely last year that I watched every snap. I know there are a couple of people in Tennessee that think he didn't have as great a year as others think, but it's certainly an upgrade. Good left tackle in the draft. Their line will be a lot better than what Dorsey left. I'll say that was not easy.
Yeah, of course, David Njoku had some problems the last 2 years. Browns needed tight end help, and they made Austin Hooper the most expensive tight end in the NFL. What do you think about that call?
Yeah, I like the move, and again, nobody's asking us to chip in on these salaries, so it's fine. Whatever they spend, they spend. And I just think they're going to need 2 tight ends. I think Mayfield was pretty effective when he had 2 tight end sets in the end of his rookie year. And this guy's obviously a guy who can hold on to the ball. And Njoku made some fabulous catches and some really routine drops.
But what do you think this team will look like offensively as far as what the schemes will be? Do you think it's going to be a running game? Do you think it's going to be a passing game? Do you think it's going to be a combination of the two?
Well, I think you can look at Minnesota last year and see, they had a quarterback who had some mobility, as does Mayfield. They also had a zone running scheme that they used, and I think that's probably what we'll see here. I just think that you'll see a smarter offensive play caller who will take advantage of the fact that he has Nick Chubb and help me,
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt, thank you. So in those situations, they call for running plays. He's not going to get away from it as quickly as Freddie Kitchens did. And I get back to this all the time. I think Freddie Kitchens was trying to please his squeaky wheel receiver. And I wouldn't put Jarvis Landry in the same group, but certainly he was a guy that when he didn't feel like he was being utilized, he had something to say about it to Kitchens. I think these guys are going to respect Stefanski's play calling and the way he conducts himself. And I think that'll go more smoothly this year.
Well, it looked like Berry had a plan, and he's, if that's the case, he's carrying it out because on his defensive lineup, he's signed 3 guys, all of them under $3.5 million in one-year deals. I was kind of surprised they were able to pull off so many one-year deals. The cheap talent, Andrew-Billings, Kevin Johnson, and Karl-Joseph all signed those deals. And in mass, it looks like there's some bodies out there who can play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think what they've done offensively, or this team offensively, is going to get people more excited than what they've done defensively. But this might be just as effective in adding some veteran guys who can play their positions at not a large cost. I mean, in this salary cap, era, that teams, we see this all the time, Les. When teams load up on one side of the ball, they have to be really smart and efficient and effective in what they do on the other side of the ball. And that strikes me as what this Browns team is doing.
So what do you think? In a more ideal situation to get both sides of the ball equally, or take a little advantage on one side and not the other?
Well, I think the way the rules are skewed, you have to have that offense. I mean, you just have to have an offense with some big playability on it. And now they have it pretty much at every position.
Well, you have heard a lot about Northeast Factory Direct over the last year or so here on this show, and we appreciate you responding to that. Northeast Factory Direct has been telling you for 20 years now, and they've got the lowest prices on the finest quality furniture and hot tubs and anything else in the store. And Alex has now figured it out. He's if you wind up buying something and it's less expensive than it would be at Northeast Factory, he's going to refund the price right off the bat, no questions asked. If you see it advertised for less than you could buy it at Northeast Factory, let him know, and he will take care of it immediately. That model that he started 20 years ago, low overhead buying in volume so he can save big, and meaning the giant bare bone warehouses and the really good people make it easy for you to shop and not only find the best price guarantee, but you'll also find the best quality furniture and hot tubs anywhere in this area. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine continues right here exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say, it's not just a floor, wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yup. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. There's coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back. More Sports and Les-Levine. Bud Shaw via Skype as he joins us on Thursday. He will be off next Thursday. By the way, Mary Kay Cabot, and I'm saying this that we know that these schedules could change at any time, but Mary Kay will join us on Thursday night. Dennis Maniloff tomorrow. The Browns, well, they got one linebacker in the deal, and in this past, and they need some more help. But I think it's obvious if you look at the depth chart, the linebacker situation is something that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it has to be dealt with from an experience level. You know, we saw some good things last year with the young guys, but you know, you can't go into a season with those guys and think you're going to be an elite defense. So I would imagine they're going to add even more players as this thing goes on.
Well, here's what you have right now: Mac Wilson, who showed promise last year; B.J. Goodson, who came this past week. He's set up as the Mike linebacker. Sione Takitaki. Then you go to the second team, Tate, who most people haven't heard of at all. Tay Davis, Willie Harvey, and Jermaine Grace, all on that team. I would expect some changes in that department, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, Les. I just I know I've been beating this point a little too hard, probably, but you can look at individually and say Kirksey wasn't worth what he wanted. and wouldn't take the contract they were offering, the discount. You can look and say Schobert, isn't that great of a player, doesn't make great plays all the time. But those guys brought a lot to this team, both on the field and in the locker room, and they're going to be tough to replace.
Yeah, and I've always thought that if you want a guy but the price is too high, there should be a way that you can make it work if you want the guy, because you're letting somebody else make the decision for you.
Yeah, and clearly they must have, looked, and I don't want to say everything comes down to analytics in this organization, but I'm sure they studied the production of both of those guys and came to the conclusion that market value was not what they wanted to pay. So now it's up to them to make sure that, we don't look back on this the way we've looked back on a couple of other guys, Mitchell Schwartz, who've left, when he should have stayed.
Well, there are some veteran options out there, not necessarily guys on their way to Canton's Hall of Fame, but there are some veteran guys that we can take a look at. You see Josh Bynes there, and 30 years old, played with the Ravens last year, 46 tackles, couple of interceptions, 1 sack in 12 games. And there you see his contract situation at the bottom. As in his career, 101 games, he's got a total of 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles forced in those 101 games. Then you have Mark Barron. Take a look at Mark Barron, who played last year with the Steelers, and 82 tackles, 1 interception, 3 sacks in that 15 games, 9 interceptions in his career, a total of 119 career games, and you see the contract situation there. And then Marcus Golden is on that list of potentials, 72 tackles, 10 of those sacks, 13 forced fumbles, and 6 fumbles forced in 62 career games. And there's the last contract situation, and that came with the New York Football Giants. 216-575-0403.
I was just going to say, had we seen Joe Wood's defense here last year, we might have a better feel for who fits best there. But we had, but we didn't. I mean, we know what kind of system he likes to run, but from a detail standpoint, it's hard to look at any of those 3 and say, oh, this is the one guy that they should go get. We'll just wait for them to do it, Les, and then we'll criticize them if they were wrong.
Do you expect, assuming we can get this football season going, do you expect a big splash by the Browns, or are they about where they want to be? I'm talking about, for example, Trent Williams, who we'll talk about in the next segment, but something like that, either offensively or defensively.
No, I don't think we're going to see anything big like that. I mean, we can talk about Trent Williams coming up, but I'm not a big fan of that move. I think that I understand that they feel like they're ready to win now, and turning it over to a rookie left tackle is probably a little scary for everybody.
You think the fact that it looks like they want to win now is a direct result of the fact that it fell apart on them last year when they also expected to contend?
Yeah, I just think that they look at the talent on this team offensively, and the trust they probably have in Kevin-Stefanski and the way he can he's run offense before, the success he's had with quarterbacks in the past, including Case Keenum, who they signed to a 3-year deal. I just think they feel like they're much better positioned now in coaching to make a big step. Now, are we going to go crazy and say they're going to go 11-5 and be one of the top 5 Super Bowl, favorites? I don't think so. Anytime a new group comes in, and we should have known this last year. The problem last year, Les, is that I think we looked and we saw, we thought Freddie wasn't really new. Freddie had 5-6 games as an offensive coordinator, and the team knows him, and and we should have known that it still is a big transition when you put a first-time head coach in, when he's bringing in a new staff. And Stefanski might be a really smart guy and have a better background than Freddie for this job, but there's still, reason to think that there's going to be a few growing pains as a rookie head coach in this league.
There's going to be something that he hadn't seen before. I asked this of Dan Lobby last night of cleveland.com, and I asked do you think that when Stefanski obviously wanted the job, but when he actually got into the office by himself and looked at the roster, do you think he said, my goodness, how did they not win more games? Or you think he said, well, I see why they struggled?
No, I think that he probably looked and thought that they should have won more games just because of the talent they had in the backfield. And I realized Kareem Hunt was only there half a season, but the talent they had on in receivers, the offensive line I know was suspect, but that defensive front we thought going into that season was going to be pretty strong, and they looked better at linebacker and had two good, we thought were lockdown corners in the draft. So I think there's talent here. I don't second guess the talent on the roster. I just think sometimes the coaching needs to get seasoned before it can match a roster, and I think that's what happened last year.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us, and you can also email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. You can explore your interests and find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future from Tri-C, offering more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-edu or tri-c.edu to find out more information. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Well, this date in sports history, 1962, Cincinnati beats Ohio State second year in a row for the NCAA championship, 71-59. Ohio State won in Lucas and Havlicek in their sophomore years. Freshmen couldn't play then. They beat California with Darryl Imhoff and then lost twice in a row to Cincinnati. A lot of people, Bud, think that Oscar Robertson was part of that Cincinnati team. He was gone by that time.
You were at that game, weren't you?
No, but I have a story about it, which, well, I guess I can tell you. No, I can't tell you. I can tell you, just not now.
Off air, okay.
Yeah, 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Trent Williams, a name we've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. You're going to be surprised when we show you the results of our Facebook question of the day a little bit later. But now Williams' agent is demanding a trade or to be released by the Washington Redskins. The question would be, is now the time for the Browns to acquire Trent Williams? The statement comes from Vincent Taylor, the agent for Trent Williams, who says throughout the process, Williams has maintained his silence and has not spoken negatively about the team, nor has he pursued legal actions. This seems not to be a successful strategy. Players who are outwardly critical of the team do get traded. Although Trent Williams will always love and respect Dan Snyder, his teammates and the Washington Redskins fans, he wants to be traded or released. It's time for the organization to act in a manner that is both in Williams and the team's best interests.
Yeah, Les, listen, he's being a little disingenuous there because my understanding is the team has given him, the agent, and Trent Williams the go-ahead to come up with a deal. Go get a trade and come back to us. And,
I wonder how often that happens where you give the player and the agent time to do that, and he doesn't know what the team's needs are if they would trade him. I think that's a little unfair the other way.
Well, I think in this case, they're looking at what draft compensation would there be for Williams. If they hold on to him and he leaves as a free agent, I think they'll get like a third-round compensatory pick for that. So what is the big advantage of trading him now for a third-rounder if you can get a third-rounder by holding on to him? So this just tells me that teams are not willing to give up first or second round for a guy that's going to cost an awful lot of money to keep. So are you going to give him up you're going to give up that kind of salary or that kind of a trade for draft pick for 1 year with a guy that wants to make the kind of money he wants to make and isn't going to be happy?
Well, tell him to go have a great year with the team that he winds up with.
Right. Well, so I think there are some drawbacks that suitors are sort of looking at and saying, we can't give up a really high pick for a guy that we might not have for more than a year.
I'm just wondering, if a team has certain needs, why they would leave it up to the agent of the star player to make that kind of a deal. That negotiation should go on with the front offices.
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's solely telling him you go find a trade because we're not going to do it. I think that they've also looked out there and talked to teams and tried to see what his market value is. And I think that's their way of telling the agent and the player that the market value isn't as high as you think it is. Now, if they keep him, I think I don't understand the finances of the NFL, but I think he's a $10.5 million hit on their salary cap. But I think in the new collective bargaining agreement that got negotiated, I don't think he can hold out. He held out last year. I don't think he can hold out again without being fined $40,000 a day or something, some ridiculous number like that.
Hey, Bud, you're down south and you have a lot of time on your hands. What's the reaction you're getting nationally from what the Browns have done and what the other teams in the division have done?
Well, it's funny. I'm staying at a complex where there's a number of Ohioans that come in and out of here every year. And I've gotten a chance to talk to just a couple, and they're still excited about this team. And it's probably one of those things that we'll look back on and say, well, it wasn't that simple. But it's for the reason we just talked about. I think they look at the talent that was here last year, and they saw some of the blunders that Kitchens made, and they've certainly read enough and watched enough interviews to know that there were people saying that what this team was working on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of practice weeks was sort of just thrown out the window after the first series or two on Sunday. So I think the people I run into are just as excited about their chances of being a good team.
What you just said about practicing one way with a game plan and then chunking it out the window, that is so hard to believe. I know that it's true, but it's just so hard to believe that at that level it could come down to that.
Yeah, it really is, Les, and especially because Freddie Kitchens had some experience with some of the players on this offense, and especially the quarterback. So you would think that he would have gone into games committed based in part on what he had done in those 5 or 6 games toward the end of Mayfield's rookie year, just seeing what these guys do best. Instead, I don't know about you, but I didn't think Mayfield ever looked comfortable last year.
Well, part of it could have been the receivers. Part of it
did in his career.
Yeah, part of it could have been the receivers not being on the same page or able to run the proper routes.
Certainly, it didn't. I think the Odell Beckham acquisition complicated things more than it helped, and I think it put pressure on Mayfield to feel like he had to get the ball to him in big situations. And I don't think they had enough time on the field together to understand each other.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that when they made the deal for Beckham, that was the catalyst that made everybody all of a sudden say, all right, they're contenders now, not just for making the playoffs, but doing something when they got there.
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly the shiny present under the Christmas tree, and he made everybody think that, all you had to do was harness that talent and they were going to do fantastic things together. So that's going to be one of the big challenges for Stefanski, getting more out of Beckham, not only production-wise on the field, but I think buying in more to what's happening around him on this team, because I don't think he ever did that last year.
216-575-0403 if you want to get in before the end of tonight's show. Again, tomorrow night, Dennis Maniloff and Mary Kay Cabot will be here on Thursday. Then Dave Bacon will have his weekend winners report, which is becoming highly anticipated and highly watched. We appreciate that very, very much. 216-575-0403 is our number. We were talking about Alex at Northeast Factory Direct, and he's got furniture. Is it cheap? Well, price-wise. Is it cheap quality-wise? Absolutely not. They have a high quality, the top names in name brand furniture like Flex Steel in England, Klausner, and much more. They also have lines of custom furniture, and they can get them quicker than you can get them at the expensive box stores where you're paying much more money. They also have Amish furniture made right here in Ohio. You don't get higher quality than that, and it costs so much less at Northeast Factory Direct. East, West, and South, 3 locations, but go to the website first, northeastfactorydirect.com. Sokolowski's University, and they've been with us for a lot of years, and we ask you to support them. Of course, you can't sit down in the restaurant right now, but you can take orders to go if you just wanted a chance to do that. How about it? They are in Sokolowski's University in Tremont, 5 minutes out of downtown Cleveland, and we'd like you to try them if you haven't tried them before, and if you have, we'd like you to support them also. That's Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come back in a moment. Bud Shaw with us. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
And never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Welcome back. More Sports and Les-Levine. Bud Shaw with us, and as he is normally on Thursday, he'll miss next Thursday, but we'll welcome him back when he does get back to town. 216-575-0403 if you'd like to get in the final segment or two. But our Facebook question of the day deals with what we were just talking about. That's Trent Williams. Is Trent Williams worth a second-round pick? What is your response to that?
I would say no.
Well, so too do most of our emailers, our
I'm
Facebook
surprised
people.
by that, Les.
Yeah, I was too. I thought it would be even. Carmen Tolino, a quick no. Gerard Morelli, a quick no. Glenn Berger, no, I would pass on that. He didn't play last year, and he has suffered some injuries in the past. It's too much of a risk in acquiring a 32-year-old who was inactive last season. Dennis Davis says, I don't think so. Pick a tackle and keep building. Rick May says, no, his age doesn't justify the amount of money that he's asking for. Take a tackle in the first round and then go from there. Gregory Mees says, that's our biggest need, a left tackle. I would trade a second-round pick in a heartbeat for a left tackle. Kevin Malone says, no, they can get a good starter for many years for way less money at the second round. I think all Trent wants is money. He'd be another Albert Hainsworth. And finally, Brandon Buckley says, I wouldn't do that deal. There's usually some good linebackers and safeties that you can get as they fall out of the first round. I think that with the rich offensive lineman class, they don't have to sign Trent Williams. The better move would be to sign Peters to a 1 to 2 year deal and then let him start, then draft the offensive lineman at 10. I didn't think it was going to be unanimous, but that's the way it was. And he's 31 years old. He'd like a new contract with the Redskins or to be traded. He's set to make $12.5 million in 2020, the final year of his contract, and he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. So
that's not bad, right?
No, that's not. Well, I'm not sure. I think the Pro Bowl has been devalued enough that I'm not sure it's as big as it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the Jason Peters thought a little more than I do Trent Williams. And I say that realizing that we're talking about a 38-year-old guy in Jason Peters.
Yeah. When you think about that, are you talking about the injury with Trent Williams, or are you just the attitude of wanting to?
Just the whole package.
The whole package.
A guy who was not happy last year, maybe for good reason because of what he had to deal with Washington. But turning 32 years old, I think with the money that he's going to want, I think that becomes a factor next year for him. And you'd hate to see that, you in welcoming in a problem that you didn't have when the season, when the off season started. And I think they can still get it's number 10, Les. They should be able to get a guy like, not as good as Joe Thomas, obviously, but a guy like that they can plug right in and who will learn, Well, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of bringing in a veteran guy and then drafting a left tackle at with the 10th pick and letting him sit.
Are you surprised that the Conklin, the right tackle, you surprised they went that way and then might leave the left tackle position open to a rookie?
Yeah, I just think they saw in Conklin a guy that they could get a lot cheaper than they could, a guy like Trent Williams, and I think Conklin fits what they want to do.
All right. Anything before we get into the important part of the show, the How Come Quickies, which you will be grading? Any other sport you want to pop in here, and any thoughts on anything?
No, I mean it's funny that the NBA's just sort of disappeared on us, and I haven't heard any talk about resuming that season, and what that would entail. I mean, the Cavs, I think, had just started playing well for them. Had just started showing some things. So
the bar was low.
Yeah, it was certainly low. But it was going to be one of those years that you look back and you thought, at least they got to grow a little bit. Sexton, in particular, was showing that.
All right, Bud Shaw with us. You've been able to follow the Cleveland sports scene. In these days, it's easy to do, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
not
pretty much.
Under these circumstances.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just not. It's easy enough to do remotely. Certainly not easy to do when there is no Cleveland sports scene.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll come back in a moment with Bud Shaw. If you want to call us sometime, we have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Can't make it during the show, which, by the way, is seen Monday through Friday from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Any of the other 23 hours a day, you can get us and leave a message on the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Back in a moment with Bud Shaw. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Well, tomorrow night, the D-Man Dennis Maniloff, WTAM Radio, joins us, and then Thursday it'll be Mary Kay Cabot right here. We do the show live from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on cleveland.com, and you can archive us and pick up any show that you'd like on cleveland.com. Bud Shaw with us tonight, and let's go to the phones. Let's go to Chuck, who's in Masery, Ohio. Hello, Chuck. Chuck, are you there? Try it again. Chuck is in Masery.
Hey, Les.
There
can
you
hear
are.
Me?
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that might have been me, Les.
Okay.
Hey, normally I talk baseball, but you piqued my interest on something you said about the Browns trying to go for it this year. Les, don't you think that no team doesn't try to go for it every year? Nobody's on a 5-year plan in the NFL anymore, Les.
Well, it's not even a 5-year plan. It's not even a 5-year plan. It's a 3-year plan for the most part. But you make a great point. But he makes a great point. Don't bother building for the future, because the top rung of teams, playoff teams, they switch every year.
Well, I certainly wouldn't. I do believe the Cincinnati Bengals weren't trying to win last year, nor were the Miami Dolphins. But I'll give Chuck this much: if you're front office and head coach in Cleveland, Ohio, you better be ready to win based on what the owner does when you don't win.
But even in Miami and Cincinnati's case, I don't think they planned on tanking like they did, but just the situation has put them in that. Most teams, like Les said, try to win within 3 years.
I don't think they had a plan.
Within 3 years, I'll give you that, Chuck.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a 5-year thing. But listen, look at what this organization did back when Dee Podesta and Barry and Sashi were together the last time. They clearly weren't trying to win. They thought they could do it in a 3-year period, and they were wrong. But yeah, I think your point's made. I mean, these teams can now turn it around if they have salary cap room, which good organizations usually do.
Yeah, but that being said, Bud, I don't think Cincinnati planned on Joe Burrow coming out and them having that pick. I think that kind of fell into place as the season unfolded. I don't think that was a result of any meeting they had of the organization.
No, but I mean, they did move away from Andy Dalton to a young quarterback who they had to believe was going to struggle. So they made some decisions, I think, to sort of give experience to certain players, knowing that they weren't going to be a competitive playoff team. But I do, I think he's right in that, regimes that come in thinking they have time to build. Find out that they don't have nearly as much time as they think in the beginning. Owners like to say the same thing, the nice thing about how we're going to build and we're going to make good decisions that make us competitive for the long haul and all that stuff. But as soon as the seasons start and they go on that weekly, spiral, which we know only too well in this town, then suddenly, all bets are off. And we've seen it happen a few times now where the owner here has turned around and looked at what he had started to do and said, oh, that's not working. We got to do something else.
All right, Chuck, thanks so much. We'll talk baseball next time. Let's go to the first-time caller, George in Pennsylvania. Hello, George.
How are you, Les?
I'm well. How are you? Harrisburg, PA.
Harrisburg, PA, 350 miles from Cleveland. I have season tickets. I agree with you guys. They shouldn't even deal with Trent Williams. To me, that's just a waste. Take a tackle at 10. And Bud, you said, well, he's not going to be Joe Thomas, but we don't know. It's all a crapshoot, isn't it?
Usually.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think we knew in the Joe Thomas draft, at least there were a lot of people banging the drum for the Browns to take him there. and not take a quarterback there and take a chance on missing him, which they certainly would have. So I don't know. I haven't followed closely enough to know, George, whether there's a tackle in this draft that's considered Joe Thomas quality. But certainly, if you have a good offensive line coach, which this organization does right now in Bill Callahan, it's a great time to pick a young left tackle and let him grow.
Anything else, George?
I agree completely. You got to have a young guy because you figure Conklin's there 3 years. Young guys' contracts going 5 years or whatever, and then you have somebody. You know what I mean? You just keep overlapping them.
Yeah,
I mean, so much of what these good offensive lines do is they play together and they stay together, and it doesn't mean that they do it for 10 years. Obviously, the attrition, takes its toll, but it really does help to have these guys, playing together, learning especially with a new regime coming in that wants to do zone blocking and that kind of other stuff. It's really important to have these guys grow together, and I think that's what they're going to do with that pick. I'll be surprised. Now, they may trade down if the tackle they wanted is no longer on the board, but I don't think you'll see them trade down very far, and I don't think it'll be away from the offensive line.
Hey, George, thanks for being a first-time caller and following us. We appreciate it very much. Good to talk to you. Hopefully you'll call in the very, very near future. Bud Shaw is with us. Bud, time for some How Come Quickies. You ready?
I've got my pen, Les.
There you go. You must be ready. Again, give us your terms, because I think some people, if they have one quickie to give in a week, they give it either because of you or in spite of you.
Right. It's my greatest regret. I can hear them making the speech. It's my greatest regret that I have but one quickie to give to the Les Levine show.
All right.
No, my biggest stipulation, Les, is that they be quick.
Hence the name.
It's in the name.
Yeah.
So quick, and I don't want to see the joke coming if possible.
All right. Let's see what we've got here. We've got Lawrence from Akron. I didn't hear this interview, but he says, how come Albert Bell sounded more sensible than Rob Manfred on a radio show interview today when he proposed a 112-game MLB season to begin May 30th? I mean, I don't know how anybody can put an active date on this. 3.0.
They're called quickies, sir, and they should make me laugh at the end.
Well, how about this one? How come my kitchen has a cabinet stuffed with cookbooks, but every time I need a recipe, I use the internet instead? Same thing?
No, it's a little long. I mean, and true. I'll give him 6.0 for being true, but not
he didn't
funny.
lie.
Yeah.
All right, here you got to follow this one, okay? Follow the magic.
Already, I'm marking this one down. If you're telling me I have to follow it,
you have to follow it. How come the Indians didn't see the marketing potential in the '60s of trading for starting pitchers Bob from Pittsburgh and Joe from Detroit to join Tommy and form a rotation of Veal, Sparma, John? Already 3.0.
Les, it's way too long.
Yeah, but he's got Bob Veal in there. He's got Tommy John. He's got Joe Sparma from Massillon. All right, I'm just trying to help.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Sparma from
me into
4.0.
4.0.
All right, very good. I think you'll like this one. John Patrick. How come since I'm in quarantine, all my quickies are inside jokes? Now, if you're grading on a curve, that has to be a 9.9.
I'm leaving some room for somebody else, but I liked it. I didn't see it coming.
It's not a mercy vote or anything like that?
No, I thought that was well done. Is that it for the quickies?
That's it.
Oh, wait, so I didn't have to leave any room?
No. he's back to a 7. He's back to
9-0.
Oh, 9-0.
9-0.
Excellent. All right, drive safely. Go ahead.
Okay. As the batches of How Come Quickies go, how would you rate that one?
A 4, maybe. Maybe.
You're a tougher teacher than I am.
Listen, we're just grateful to be here and grateful to give some sense. The quickies, there's pressure on the quickies to be funnier, more entertaining in these times. But we'll work on it.
It certainly would help.
All right, but drive safely. Have a great, safe trip back, and we'll see you when you get here.
Okay. Thanks, Les.
All right. Thanks to Bud Shaw.
Stay safe, everybody.
You too. Bud Shaw. Terrific guy, terrific guest, no question about that. We've been a part of this show, I think, about 17 years, something like that. Dennis Maniloff tomorrow, Mary Kay Cabot on Thursday, Dave Bacon on Friday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.